Welcome. It's a rainy late August in Oklahoma City. I just want to go over setting up the CyberOPs virtual machine multi-VM environment. And I'm going to do this. I know that they're originally set up on VirtualBox. We run VMware Workstation, so I'm going to also address that issue, how you get it in. It's not that big a deal. The topology, basically, there is 3 internal networks and 1 external network inside with the CyberOps workstation. On the DMZ, they've got a vulnerable target, in this case Metasploitable, we'll talk about that. And then on the internet, they have an attacker workstation, Kali Linux. The requirements for these are not real high. I have actually bumped these up. They've kept them down, so you're more likely. We're going to talk about the requirements. You may want to actually look at increasing the hard drives. I'll probably address that in a later video. I'm not going to try to cover everything, but those are them. There's a username and passwords, and that's my German Shepherd puppy playing with the toy. I'm going to pause this and take that just for. Okay, I'm back. Go ahead and download these OVAs. Straight from the links in the lab PDF. You need a host with at least 8 gigs of RAM and 45 gigs of hard drive space. Your CPU and motherboard and BIOS all have to support virtualization. It kind of goes without saying, you do need a 64-bit operating system and a 64-bit processor. I really recommend a quad core and 16 gigs of RAM if at all possible. Kind of an aside, and I came up with this because I couldn't use my home machine. Some of you may want to look at setting up a home lab. Most security people and pen testers at some point or other get in and set up their own home lab. I recommend going to this site, Tinker-Try, and it actually looks at a super micro that about going on 4 years ago I bought. It's using system on a chip. It has 8 cores Xeon. It's got 2 gigabit and 2 10 gigabit LAN ports. It controls up to, I believe, 6 SATA 3 devices. It's got 3 in the configuration, the mini tower configuration that I use. It has 4 removable drive bays for 5 1/4 and 2 internal 2 1/2s, and it supports up to 128 gig of RAM. I can't afford that right now. If you look at the Tinker-Try thing, one of the real advantages for me is that I was trying to get where I did not have 4 or 5 machines and a server that I was constantly running. My office actually sounded like you were out on an airport taxiway. I no longer have either a Novell or Windows server running with my own email server, either GroupWise or Exchange. I've got to move that to the cloud, but I still needed 4 or 5 different machines to do some of these labs. I can do all this on 1 machine. I actually, without going through the whole thing, I have it set up where I have my Windows 10 on a solid state drive, which I can boot. It's got a PCI mid-range video card in it. I've got 2 27-inch monitors on. Could have 3. But the really fun thing is that you can actually put ESX VMware on a flash drive, install ESX, and I can actually run vCenter, all these machines, and then I can actually, through pass-through, I can actually take my workstation that I normally run standalone and actually run it from within my VMware server. There's some tricks passing through the video card and the hard drive, but it can be done, and it cuts down on the power usage. It's very effective. It's a lot quieter. There's some other tricks, but that's something to look in. I'm actually saving my pennies. I'd like to get another one. I would like to set up some of the container systems, Docker, Vagrant, and or hyper converged infrastructure platforms that are out there that I'd like to play with, that I really need something pretty hefty to do it. Anyway, that's just an aside. As you can see, it's running the Xeons, their D1540s, 64 gig. Back to the lab. It requires, for software, you need one of two types of hypervisors. There are two types, and they are type 2. Okay, either use Oracle's VirtualBox, which is what the labs were originally set up, or you could do VMware Workstation / Player. Player you can still get for free if your school is a part of the VMware Academy, or you can get, they could provide that to you. It's not licenses, it's actually 365-day evaluations, but it works the same. That's actually where I'm running my ESX from. You can also get that stuff from, if you're a member of VMUG, I think it's called Experience. For about $200 a year, you can get all that. Anyway, although you can download Kali and Security Onion either as virtual machines or ISOs and create your own, they may or may not work for the lab. There are some stuff that's built in. I would use the provided machines that have been customized for this lab. Just talk a little bit about the target. Metasploitable was developed by Rapid7. It gives you a target to try your pen testing and run your vulnerability scans on, that kind of stuff. It's basically it's a older version of Linux that has a lot of vulnerabilities built in. The one used in labs is Metasploit 2. If you want to play with this on your own, you can download that. There's some good reference articles out, Offensive Security, that supports Kali. They have a Metasploitable Unleashed course that's very good on using Metasploit, and they use the Metasploitable in that. There is an up-to-date version called Metasploitable 3. It's a little more complex. You don't download a VM anymore. You have to create your own VirtualBox machines using some of the DevOps tools, Packer, Vagrant. I've got a link here. It's Rapid7 has that. If you do a search for Metasploitable 3, you'll find that. There's also some Windows VMs if you want to attack some Windows machines. Then you don't have access to Microsoft Imagine, or is it DreamSpark? I can't ever remember. They keep changing it. It used to be MSDNAA. There is a link where you can download Windows 7, 8.1, and 10 virtual machines for testing. They expire in, I think, 30 or 90 days, but they're already in virtual machine format. Although the virtual machines for this were set up in VirtualBox, they should function correctly in VMware. As I was going through it, it looked like they installed both the VirtualBox tools and the OpenVM tools. It probably would run just fine without taking them out. It kind of irked me. It kind of irritated me a little bit. So I personally wish they would go ahead and not install either one. Just put the packages there, so that you could uninstall them and reinstall them. One of the issues is really the only machine that has true internet connectivity and DNS is the Security Onion. We're going to address some of the issues that come up. The CD-ROM device, your network interface cards may be a little bit wonky. VirtualBox extensions. Okay. When you go to import an OVA into VMware, there's two ways you can go to File and Open. I'll show you here in a minute, or the Work in Progress. Notice the name is going to be a little different than what you downloaded. I renamed all mine, and it will name your virtual machine the same as your OVA. The other thing is, notice that if you may notice that the storage path is different. from what yours is. Yours is going to try to put it in users, documents, virtual machines. I don't like storing really big files, which these virtual machines are, inside the user profile, and there's a lot of reasons for that. I'm not going to get into all of it. One of the things you may come up, you may see a little warning that that they aren't compatible and that it does not meet the VF specifications. Usually, if you click retry, it'll go ahead and work. I'm going to go ahead. I have actually already imported all the machines just for time's sake. I'm going to go ahead and do the smallest of them. I'm going to do open. I'm going to go and here's my originals. I'm going to do the Metasploitable. Of these, it's the smallest. I'm going to click open, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to modify the name a little bit so it doesn't overwrite something I've done before. I'm going to call it demo. Import. And this goes pretty fast. Okay, it gave me the warning. I'm going to say retry. Hopefully yours took longer than mine did. I paused my my recording. Notice it came up and went ahead and added it in. You can go in and add the virtual settings here. Notice that the memory processors and so on and so forth can be modified. I'm going to go ahead and leave these the same, but this is where you would do it. You'd actually come in, and we're going to use custom virtual networks. 2 through 4, I believe, is the ones we're using for the 3 internal networks. So that's really all there is to that. Notice, let's see, let me find mine. Notice under the description, I've come in and added some working notes, username, password, information about the network. Those are kind of my working notes. I really strongly suggest, we don't use paper and pencil anymore, but if you're not familiar with it, I would get OneDrive, and OneNote, I'm sorry, OneNote. It's great for keeping notes on what you do. I do so many of these that it's hard to remember exactly what I did where. It also makes it easier to share with other people. I'm going to go in a little different order than the lab. I'm going to start with the security onion, since basically it's the central hub that provides all the routing between the different networks, and that facilitates checking connectivity. Basically, the security onion has 4 network adapters. 3 are internal networks. Basically, they're private networks on your computer, and 1 using NAT that could be used to reach the internet. Basically, all the VMs are connected, the virtual networks, with each virtual machine has an adapter that's on one of these 3 networks, either inside, DMZ, or internet. I'm going to use 4 networks for our labs. VNet 2 I'm going to use for internal inside. VNet 3 I'm going to use for internal DMZ, and for the internal internet I'm going to use VMnet 4. The last one is going to be NAT. Now that's name address translation. So what it's going to do is it's going to have a private address on the inside, and then it's going to have one on the outside that it can use to communicate with the internet. Excuse me. I have gone in, and like I said, I've already imported the machines. One of the things I would suggest doing, and I'm going to go into snapshot manager just to show you kind of what my process is. Before you do anything to these, make a base snapshot. This will allow you to roll back if you have problems. Believe me, you can have problems. Then what I did is I came in and I set up all the networks and assigned them, did a snapshot, and then I did the final working. I'm not going to actually go through the network, so I'm just going to kind of show you. What I am going to do is I'm going to come back to the networking before the final, and I am going to go to that. So it's going to lose all the settings that I did for removing the machine, the extensions, and increasing the resolution. Going into Security Onion. I did not mention, I would leave the RAM settings on the workstation Metasploitable the same. I think it's 512 and 1 gig. I bumped Security Onion up and Kali up. Notice I moved it to 4 gig. Just makes it a little faster. Almost all these is going to be Analyst and CyberOPs for the passwords. Makes it easy to systems. I got all these are slightly different. Go to Systems, Settings. I'm going to go find the display. The ones I've exported, I go ahead and I bump them up to 1360 by 7. Let's see where it is. 768. And I'm going to keep that. Notice it actually made it a little bit bigger. That way, very few of the monitors that people have anymore are less than that. First thing I want to do is I want to see if the packages for the VirtualBox are installed on this. So I'm going to go in and to root using sudo and the permanent state, so I don't want to have to do every command. The Security Onion is based on Ubuntu, and it uses the apt-get, depends on the newest version. They've dropped the get package manager. So I can come in with dpkg and list for L for list. Okay, now that makes it a little hard to read, so I'm going to come back, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to filter that with grep. Actually, let me clear that. Makes it a little easier. Okay, actually, they have already got both the Open VMware Tools and the VMware Desktop. I do not see where they have the VirtualBox tools, so I'm not going to worry about that. What I am going to do is I'm going to come back. There's a couple ways you can do this. I'm going to go in through here with it running, and I'm going to look at the adapters. You'll notice if you have to add them, those are the commands. That's the ones to check. That's if for some reason that they're on a Debian system, this will get them, remove them. Resolution. This is the Security Onion NIC cards, and I've got the interface here, the IP address, the network is going to be, and then the one that the VMware network. And you can see I've gone in and assigned these. Okay. Go ahead and check that you can reach the default gateway. Normally on a real network, I would ping by IP address and the fully qualified domain name. I don't think on a lot of these that DNS is completely set up. You can run, if you are not sure the gateway, you could ping the gateway directly. The other way you can do that, which I like to do, sometimes it makes it easier if you don't know exactly where you're trying to go, is just do a trace route and go to one of the Google. Okay, and you see the first hop that came up. That's my default gateway. And it shouldn't get anything else because it won't go any farther. And you can see that my interface is on the same network as my default gateway. Okay. I believe this is actually set up with Security Onion. Yeah, Security Onion is set up with DNS. I'm just looking to see. Here's your lab support files that you'll be using in the lab. I'm going to leave this up because this is the one that I'm going to ping from all the other machines. Okay, I'm going to move to the Kali machine next. And again, I've already that's the problem. Trying to do the wrong one. Okay, this is one that I created, and I'll talk about that later. I need to go back up here to this one. Okay, I'm going to go to Kali, go to snapshots. I'm going to go to the snapshot monitor. I'm going to go back and remove the tweaks that I did to the video, the GUI, and removing the tools. I'm going to take all that off. I'm going to power it on. Now notice you'll see it's a flash of red. Basically it's kernel modules not being loaded from either VirtualBox or something. I'm not sure which. We could use, I'm not sure if that's a user space error or a kernel. And you could actually research that. Root, they did change. Normally Kali, the default password is Tor. The username is root, and Tor, which is the reverse. Now you can do Control-Alt-Enter, which will make these full screen. On the Kali, the Debian, and the Windows Manager that's got, if you come up to the power button and settings, it's a little bit easier from. It gets interesting keeping track of all these. I'm going to go into the unknown display. I'm going to go ahead and bump that up to 13, the same as I did the last one. Say apply, keep. Now I'm going to go look for the VirtualBox. Again, this uses apt Sorry about that. I was just trying to find out. There was some noise going on. Here are your VirtualBox utilities. The DKMS guest utilities, and the X11, which is the video. Notice it's already got the open VMware tools on it also. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and it's app. Get purge VirtualBox. Oops, wrong one. the wildcard. It should take all of them. I'm going to confirm I want to remove them. All right. Now, at this point, I want to confirm that I can ping the security onion box, and it's going to be off Ethernet 0. Oops. And the IP address for that is going to be ping. Or I could do this. I could do ping 8. I don't know if this is going to work or not. I don't think it has DNS. I'm going to go ahead and just ping the interface on the security onion, and that is actually going to be 201. So it's going to be 209. 165, 201.21. Okay, I'm able to ping the security onion. Later on, when I get all these up, I'm going to cross ping between these to make sure I can get to, from like Kali, I can get to the, or from Metasploitable, I can get to the Kali and the security onion and so forth. So let's go on to the next machine. Kali Linux. There's the information. There's the settings. Here I've set the virtual VMware network here to the internal internet. Now we're going to go back to Metasploitable. We don't have to do as much on the Metasploitable for the simple reason that it is just a base machine. Oops. Didn't want to do that. Let's power that off. Probably not a good way to do that, but what I need to do is go back and revert that to the snapshot. And I'm going to go to networking. Go to. I'm going to fire that up. And it should come up here in just a second. Okay. But as you see, this is an all command line. There is no GUI. What I do want to do is come in and confirm that I have this set to 3, which is on my internal network, that I can ping the appropriate it's on the DMZ, so that's going to be the DMZ interface on Security Onion. So I'm going to log in. This is just a default Metasploitable. They haven't really changed anything. MSF admin and MSF admin. Make sure your interface is up, that you can actually check the IP address. Oops. Turn cap lock on 209.165.200.226. All right, now I can actually ping it. Okay, so I can actually get to my default gateway for that particular machine. Okay, that's just showing you and I've actually, this is for the next, oh, I jumped one. This is CyberOPs. These are out of order. Notice I wouldn't bother upping the RAM on this. You do need to set it on the inside internal network, which is VMnet 2. One of the things that's kind of tricky about the workstation is that it's not running a Debian version. It's not running a Red Hat. it's running Arch Linux, which is kind of strange for me. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to go back here, and where's snapshot? Power on this machine. Actually, why am I not? Okay, there's snapshot. I'm going to revert back to the networking. The layout and where you change this stuff is a little bit different. Go to settings, display. Again, we're going to bump that up to 1360, 768. Just makes it a little bit easier. You got to apply that, and we'll say OK. Now, like I said, this is a little bit different. It uses a different package manager. It uses something called Pacman. This is the command to list the command what's installed on that machine, or the packages. Not take that back. Just the packages that have been installed using Pacman. Big Q, little q, E. Now again, I'm going to grep it. Helps if I type right. Okay, VirtualBox-guest modules Arch. So now I want to remove that. I'm going to use the RNS switches and the package name. So I'm going to come back here. It's going to be Pacman, RNS. Case does matter. I can't do it if I'm not root. Okay, so what I'm going to have to do is come back and I can use a sudo command. CyberOPs is going to prompt me if I want to get rid of it. Yes, I want to get rid of it. This is where it would be nice if the VMware packages or source code was on the virtual machines where we could install it. It does not have the connectivity it needs to do for the package manager to actually run and pick stuff up. Could have done all this first. I could have gone ahead and switched it to NAT and or bridged and DHCP. One of the things you can do, and it talks a little bit about it, you can come down and there are some let me back up. There are some scripts already created that will move it from DHCP to static. So what you could actually do on this, if you wanted to, is you could actually do you could actually put the interface on bridge mode and run go ahead and run configure as DHCP, then turn back around and configure as static. Go ahead and flip it back to the VLAN node, the one that we've decided it's, I believe it's on the inside, so it would be on VNet 2. One thing that you might pay attention to is that the NIC numbers on these may vary. It's gone to, there's a new nomenclature that they're using, or format. It's not going to just be Ethernet 0, 1, 2, 3. Notice it's ENS 33. That number may vary depending on the number of factors. Yeah, Sigma should have zagged. Okay. I removed those. Now that I am on the CyberOPs workstation, I'm going to go in and ping both both the Metasploitable Workstation. Make sure my routing through the security onion is working. I tell you what, I think I need to run the DHCP script. Okay. Now let's ping. Alright, there we go. It didn't have the default gateway. So I'm now actually pinging the Metasploitable. Now, there's a couple things I could actually do. I could actually make a script ping helps if I type the right command. And you can actually go ahead and make scripts to do that for you. 209.165.200.235. Then you got to make it executable. So you do a +X. Oh, I've already got them created. Okay, here's the, now I can also ping the Kali. Basically that confirms that my security onion is routing. The other thing that you could do, and it's up to you, is in the etc there is a hosts file. And you could actually go in and put the entries for each of the machines with their names and their IP address, and you could, that way you could ping it by name. It just depends on how far you want to go with it. One thing I do not really recommend powering off your machines from VMware itself or suspending them. I recommend going in and shutting down each virtual machine from its own operating system. Not too complicated. It is different. This particular one, you come down here and shut down. Kali is a little different. Come back up here and power off. Metasploitable, you're just going to have to manually shut it down. And I'm going to try sudo. And I just use the initiate 0 command usually. And just go shut that down. And then this particular one, log out and shut it down. All right, it's been fun. Thank you guys.